The greatest villain. When you hear that word, you probably think of a king, a dictator, or maybe a serial killer. But the real answer is a writer, a philosopher, a man who never personally killed anyone, yet whose words still ignite fire in people's blood even today. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. He wrote a book that the Pope banned, a book the Church called Written by the Finger of Satan, a book after reading which one cardinal said, "This man is not human, he is the devil's messenger." But the truth is simple. Machiavelli wrote what everyone thinks, but no one says out loud. He wrote what your boss knows but will never tell you. He wrote what successful people do but never admit in interviews. And today I'm going to tell you Machiavelli's entire story, from his life to his death, from his ideas to his failures, because hidden inside Machiavelli's story is a deep irony, a twist that forces you to ask questions like, does understanding the game of power actually give you power? Or do even those who understand it still lose? Machiavelli's story begins in the Italian city of Florence. The year was 1469. His father Bernardo was a lawyer, but often unemployed. He had connections, he had relationships, but he didn't have money. Sounds familiar, right, doesn't it? That uncle who knows everyone, has met every politician, but is struggling in his own life. Every family has a Bernardo. Machiavelli's family line was noble, but his father was the poorest among them. And this is where Machiavelli's mindset began to form. His father was skeptical of religion. He never believed blindly. But his mother, on the other hand, was deeply religious. She wrote religious poems and hymns. So from childhood, Machiavelli lived between two worlds, the lies of religion and its truths, a poor but intelligent father, and rich but blind relatives. This contradiction is what would later turn him into the most controversial philosopher in history. Now understand what Florence was like at that time. On paper, Florence was a republic, rule by the people. Every 2 months, new leaders were selected through a lottery system. Now pause for a second and imagine this system today in your country, let's say in the United States. A new president every 2 months, chosen by pure luck. Now tell me, what do you think? Would corruption end, or would the country will collapse? So it was like that. Well, the idea back then was simple. No one person should stay in power too long. No one family should control the city. But reality was very different. The powerful Medici family controlled the entire system. They manipulated the lottery. They placed their loyal people into power. Florence was a dictatorship disguised as democracy. And this wasn't just Florence. All of Italy was the same. Corruption everywhere. Betrayal everywhere. People with two faces at each corner of the city. Mercenary soldiers switched sides for money. Leaders were friends one day and enemies the next day. Machiavelli watched all of this growing up. Then something strange happened that burned itself into his mind forever. When Machiavelli was just 9 years old, a conspiracy was uncovered against the Medici family. The conspirators were caught right away. And Machiavelli saw with his own eyes what happened to them. They were hanged upside down from the main government building and left there for weeks, rotting for months. A 9-year-old child watched corpses hanging, smelling the decay, while people casually walked beneath them, living normal lives. That was the Machiavelli's childhood. That was his school, and that was his education. Corruption and brutality, deception and punishment. No wonder he later wrote what he saw with his own eyes. Very little is known about Machiavelli's youth, but what we do know is this. In 1494, when the Medici were expelled from Florence, Machiavelli got a government job. He started handling official documents. Then came promotions. Soon he became part of the Second Chancery, one of the Florence's most powerful departments. Later, he became Secretary of the Ten of War, handling foreign relations and military affairs. And all of this happened when he was just 28 years old. At 28, most people today are building resumes. Machiavelli was already Florence's top diplomat. And the most interesting part is, no one knows how. There are no records explaining why he deserved those roles. Literally no records, no proof. Maybe he did exactly what he later taught in his book. Maybe he played the same games he warned others about. For the next 10 years, Machiavelli remained Florence's key diplomat. But Florence itself was weak. So no matter how talented he was, miracles were impossible for him. Then, in 1512, everything collapsed. The Florentine Republic fell. The Medici family again returned to power. And guess what? They suspected Machiavelli was against them. He was arrested, tortured, and then exiled. The man who once stood at the top was now a nobody. And this is where the real story begins. In exile, reflecting on everything he had seen and learned, Machiavelli wrote the book that changed history, The Prince. Before understanding The Prince, you must understand why he wrote it. He wrote it for Lorenzo de' Medici, the same family that tortured and exiled him. Machiavelli wanted his job back. He wanted to return to politics again. So he poured all his knowledge into one book and gifted it to the Medici, hoping to impress them. Remember this, it matters later in our story. At the time, leadership was measured by morality. A good man was believed to be a good ruler. But Machiavelli destroyed this idea. He said only one thing matters for a leader: gaining power and keeping power. Goodness does not define greatness, but results do. Politics and ethics, he said in his book, are separate. Prince is not a manual for living a moral life. It is a manual for holding power. And this is why he rejected Christianity as a political guide. Morality is admirable, he said, but you cannot always be moral and effective at the same time. He could have softened his message, but he didn't. Instead, he dismantled morality piece by piece and replaced it with an uncomfortable truth. Then comes the story that defines Machiavelli's philosophy, the Cesare Borgia. Borgia was the Pope's son. He conquered a city and left his deputy Ramiro de Lorqua in charge of that city. His instructions were simple: bring order in the city, by any means necessary. Lorqua was a brutally ruthless man. He did executions, confiscations, and spread terror in the public. Months later, Borgia returned to the city. He knew the people hated Lorqua because of his actions and what he did all this time. So one night, Lorqua was executed in the front of government building, cut into pieces, and displayed in the town square. And the people rejoiced and admired Borgia. Now Borgia blamed everything on Lorqua, claiming he was a monster acting alone. Machiavelli praised this. Dirty work done by others, blame placed on subordinates, and leader remains the cleanest. This strategy still exists today, even in corporate offices. Machiavelli believed. He believed leadership is a never-ending knife fight. Compassion, honesty, loyalty, sometimes they must be abandoned. He asked a famous question: is it better to be loved or feared? Now pause this video for 5 seconds and think about it, and tell me in the comment below. Okay, so let me tell. The correct answer is both. But if you must choose one, I would choose fear. Love is unstable, but fear is reliable. But also remember, never let fear turn into hatred, because hatred leads to assassination. Cruelty should be swift, controlled, and limited. That's how power works. People don't care about truth. They care about image. Machiavelli decoded modern marketing 500 years early. Yet here is the twist. Machiavelli never gained power himself. His book failed to get him a job. He remained sidelined. Why? Because once his ideas were public, no one trusted him. Who would keep a man like that close? And yet, his legacy endured. The church banned his book. He was branded evil, but his core idea was simple. Christian morality and political leadership are often incompatible. Even today, that truth holds. He wrote what everyone thinks, but no one dares to say. And that's why, 500 years later, we're still talking about him. Because some truths are so uncomfortable, they cannot be ignored.